All right. Welcome to Ez Raw Live. And we're talking after Canelo Bivol. This is my thoughts on, upset. It's depending on how you saw the fight going in, like whether it's like a massive upset or not to you. I don't think it's like a massive upset to me at all. Cause I said going into this fight that I thought Bivol, winning this fight wasn't stunning to me at all. I didn't think I wouldn't be shocked if Bivol won this fight. He's to me a very high level fighter, and he's a weight class above Canelo, right? In the Canelo undisputed at 168, but coming from 154, 160, 168 to 175, it's just kind of seemed like a stretch to me, right? I thought, maybe his skill wise, he'd be able to do it. I did not think his power would be able to stop Bivol. I didn't think that going into this fight, and it was less than that. It wasn't that he would have stopped Bivol. It wasn't even making an impact on Bivol. We'll get into it. I'm gonna attach the let's see, copy the clipboard. Let me put this right here in the comment section. So if you anyone wants to hop on, just hit that link. Um, yeah, it wasn't even to me like that the power to stop Bivol wasn't going to be there. The power wasn't even there to even change the momentum of this fight. It wasn't. It wasn't there to change the momentum of this fight at all. And Bivol did what I expected him to do as far as the fighting, as far as his fight, and he didn't move as much as I think people thought he was going to move in this fight. He didn't. He moved in parts, but a lot of times he held his own ground, and they fought in kind of each other's punching range in the middle of the ring. Though it's just that Bivol, his speed was there, his combinations were there, but his size was there as well, and he was very skilled. So it's like you have a really skilled guy in Canelo, really skilled guy in Bivol, and if one guy's coming up, it's like if they're equal, really on skill wise, right, on ability, then the guys that this when they get to the guy that moving up is of course going to struggle, right, in that fight. And I think that there was people that were picking Bivol in this fight. Like there were people, and that was their logic. It was just like if his power's not there and he can't change it late in the fight, and he's going to go down the scorecards and give up rounds early. And Canelo, I think even Canelo knew he couldn't give up rounds in this fight. Like I think he even knew like maybe my power's not going to be there, so he wouldn't start early, and it didn't pan out for him. It really didn't. I think that this they're already talking rematch. Everybody has to assume the rematch is going to happen. I can't. To me, right now, just looking at what I just saw, I can't see it changing what we saw. Right, I don't think Canelo's power is going to suddenly be effective in the next fight. And it seems like because he's fighting the bigger man, that his energy is getting blown out like way faster. Right, maybe that because he started at a faster pace, but he just didn't have the energy later on. I don't know what changes in this fight. I really don't. Now he did go for a lot of power shots, but if you watch a lot of Canelo's fight, he kind of goes for a lot of power shots. That's just kind of like what he does, and he trusts that his ability to, counter or um the placement of his shots. Like he was trying to loop his shots, and they honestly weren't really getting past the guard. A lot of to start off the fight, I think a lot of people were leaning Bivol early, like in the rounds. I thought it was pretty close going early in the rounds. I had Canelo up at like I think after like 4 or 5, I had Canelo up barely, and then it started really swinging Bivol's way. But to start off, they were both hitting each other on the guard. Like there wasn't a lot of clean shots really from either guy in the fight. And it kind of looked like it's kind of switched from what these fights usually are. And it was like Bivol was kind of like pacing himself. I think he kind of wanted to see what Canelo had. And Canelo really kind of played all his cards early in the fight on what he was going to look for in this fight. And then Bivol just kind of eased into it. And it was just like, okay, as this fight went on, he just got more confident and he felt way more comfortable in the ring. And then Canelo obviously was showing, like, to me, frustration. Like going against the ropes is, to me, a lot of frustration. That's really what I see from that. I kind of seen you kind of start looking at it like you kind of like start looking at it and you're like he's not really building towards anything, right? Like a lot of times he's like in the plant fight, I could see Canelo. He's kind of like he's building towards something. He in his mind he sees something playing out, right? Like he's putting the pressure, so he's gonna break from the pressure around like 6th, 7th round. I could tell he's not building towards anything. He's actually running out of ideas. And the thing I predicted in this fight was Bivol to run out of ideas, right? Because I thought that Bivol, whose offense is a little bit predictable, and not that his offense wasn't predictable in this fight, because it kind of was a rinse and repeat of what he was landing. It was more of like his timing, Canelo, and not doing the same thing over and over again, or not letting Canelo read when he's going to jump in. But really, even when the power wasn't there, he kind of didn't even have to worry about that. But I could see that. I don't know. I could just see the frustration in Canelo that he was just running out of ideas. And I thought Bivol would run out of ideas. I thought he'd be predictable, and Canelo was just going to be able to counter him. And then at certain times, Bivol wasn't going to know how to punch. Like late, he wasn't going to know what offense to use late in the fight. But I that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Canelo was the one frustrated. He really didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. He was against the ropes and he looked frustrated. We got Broadway. Broadway's listening. What's up, Broadway? I'm guessing is that the emoji, like the frustration or like I can't believe it emoji. I think a lot of people are feeling that way right now. But I think this is I'm glad for Bivol. I really am. I'm really glad for him. I think he was a guy that was waiting for an opportunity like this for a long time, and he finally got it. And okay, he took complete advantage. And you know, I was telling people that you know that to me was a very credible opponent. And everybody was trying to say that, you know, it wasn't a credible opponent. It wasn't a credible opponent. It was, you know, it's a guy that's a tailor-made for Canelo to beat. And I just it's not reality. It's not reality. And I even thought the broadcast, like Sean Porter, to me, was just like kind of like downplaying Bivol and just like kind of making this like it was the easy night for Canelo. I just didn't think that was fair to Canelo at all. And I don't think it was fair to Bivol. And I don't think it was fair to what this fight really was. When it was a really tough fight. Let's see what Broadway has to say. He says, Broadway says, I'm a Canelo fan. I knew this was a dangerous fight. Honestly, I think it was a dumb decision to fight this guy. I think that too. I thought he chose of all his options, he chose the toughest one. I thought that. I said that from the beginning. I think Broadway, I believe you said that too as well. That was the toughest choice from the beginning. That was the toughest choice. I thought Charlo was an easier fight. I thought Benavidez was the easier fight, and I thought this was the toughest one. And I was like, you know, the pay was similar. If not, he was going to get paid more for Charlo, right? So taking this fight was a lot of people said like, you know, the genius moves and everything like that. And I'm not going to ever get mad at a guy for fighting the toughest guy possible. But to me, it's just crazy that that's the fight they chose when they did have Charlo Benavidez right there, like for the exact same pay, if not more. That they chose Bivol, who isn't as known as Charlo or Benavidez, not a big draw. Yes, it was going to look good on the resume, but look at how it played out. Like people were downplaying it going in. People were downplaying this fight going in. A lot of people thought he was going to stop Bivol. I never thought he was going to stop Bivol. That was like guaranteed. I was saying everybody put your money on this fight's going over 10.5 rounds because that's what they put it at, right? Over and under it was 10.5 rounds. I was like, it's going over 10 because he's not going to knock out Bivol, and I don't think Bivol's going to knock him out. I'm actually a thing that I give Canelo 100% credit is like his chin held up, even though late when he was tired and dead tired, and Bivol was kind of putting it on him, his chin held up. It was a great performance by Bivol. Great performance by Bivol. I think that he's a high level fighter. I think Canelo's a high level fighter, and when you got two high level fighters, the bigger man's going to win in that, and that's really I think what happened here. If they rematch it, I see it the exact same way. Let's see, yeah, he should have taken the PBC deal. Well, I mean, yes, we're doing hindsight, but I think you were saying I believe you were saying that before that was, you know, those fights were probably more winnable than this one. Or it's just not as tough as this one. This is a tough fight. So yeah, now it's not looking the best, but I mean that rematch is going to be huge, right? If they had that rematch, it's going to be huge, and he still has a Golovkin fight. I was gonna say why this was actually good for DAZN that this happened. I don't think a lot of people thought that this would be good for DAZN if Canelo lost, right? Even I seen like Vince Cummings was saying that, oh yeah, the DAZN signed him to, and Matchroom signed him to a 3-fight deal. You think they're gonna make the toughest fight the first one? Well, that's what they did. I mean, if you follow boxing and you know boxing and you know skill level and you were able to see, you should have known that yes, Bivol's a way tougher fight than the Triple G one. That's for sure. Right, especially with Triple G's age. But this could work out for DAZN like nicely, right? Because a lot of people felt like there was no hype on this fight. Well, now this fight's going to steal all the headlines for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month. It's going to steal all the headlines. And now everybody knows who Bivol is. There's no questioning that. Everyone knows who Bivol is going forward. So now you have a rematch that has a built-in storyline. Now you need Canelo on the comeback, right? You got Bivol, who's now known, who killed it in his post-fight interview, right? Just completely killed it. Had people laughing, had jokes. said everything he needed to say. Said that he wanted to be respected as a champion on the next one, where he gets to come out last, where he gets announced last. So we have all those things now, right? Canelo come back, all that. Now, when people were saying like, well, who was he going to fight in the third fight, right? Was he going to fight Ryder? Uh, just some guy from England, right? Was he going to fight in England? Was he going to fight Mexico? Well, now he has a mega fight next with Bivol, and everyone will be paying attention to this fight. Okay, everyone will be paying attention to this fight. And after that, now you push Golovkin to December, and you have the Golovkin fight. So now you're going to have 3 big fights. You're not no question on what the third fight's going to be. There's no question on the second fight. And this works like that's beautiful for DAZN. They have a huge storyline. Even if this one didn't sound like people were rumoring that have the rumors that it didn't sell or no one was paying attention to this fight. Well, I guarantee they're paying attention now. They got headlines now. And come Monday, watch Sports Center, partner interruption, all those things, everything you listen to the radio, everybody is going to talk about Canelo losing this fight. And they will know Bivol's name. They're going to pronounce it Bivol's name correctly. This is huge. To me, this has worked out perfectly for Matchroom. They have the next 2 fights laid out perfectly. And even if Canelo loses to Bivol a second time, he still goes fight Triple G at 168. And now he looks more vulnerable than ever. And he fights Triple G. He looks way more vulnerable. So now it looks like, oh, maybe that's a good fight. Maybe it's a fight we could pay attention to. Yeah, it just and I know people are gonna be happy. Canelo, he's not liked by all, right? A lot of people think he's overrated and all those things, and they're gonna have some points to be made. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like he showed the greatest skill in this fight. He did it. He kind of looked like he was forcing power shots, and when they weren't landing, and he didn't look like he had really much more to do. I thought he would use his jab more. I thought his head movement and counterpunch would be more effective. It wasn't there. None of it was there. And Bivol picked up when he needed to pick up, because I was thinking like, okay, Bivol to me was taking control of the fight, but I was thinking like, if he plays it too safe, they're gonna give Canelo a lot of credit for hitting him on his arms, right? Especially like the big shots that Canelo's going for on his arms. I was like, Bivol's gonna have to take the chance, right? He's gonna have to take some more chances to guarantee winning, because Bivol really only won by 1 round in the fight. Right? He only won by 1 round. There was one more round. This was a draw. You have to think about that. So that's how close they had this fight. I thought it was 8-4 Bivol. I had Bivol comfortably ahead in this fight. But if Canelo takes one of the last 3 rounds, right? Because I'm assuming they had him losing one of those rounds. Assuming they had him losing, to me, I thought Bivol kind of clean sweep at the end. The only way I was even thinking the only way that Canelo could seem to be even pull this fight out in any way would be to just outwork him, right? Because Bivol was kind of being a little cautious, right? He was fighting his game plan. He wasn't doing anything outside of what he does. So I thought like maybe Canelo can outwork him, right? That was like be the only thing is can he outwork him? But he was like dead tired, and he's fighting a big man. You find a bigger fighter, you're gonna get more tired because you're working a lot more, right? Like he's putting a lot into his shots. When Bivol's hitting him, even if he's blocking it, you're feeling it a lot more. It is. There's a different thing to fighting someone bigger. It does burn your energy out in the fight. A lot of people saying they want undisputed now, right? I don't see it happening, honestly. It was undisputed was possible with Canelo, but I don't think it's really possible with Bivol. I don't. I think that Beardrev is on top rank, and trying to get Beardrev and Bivol matched up with money on 2 promotions that DAZN with Matchroom and Top Rank. I just think Bivol made we would have to assume somewhere between 7 to 10 million in this fight. He's gonna want more in the rematch. So how much would he want to fight Beardrev? Like, you know what I mean? And this Beardrev doesn't have really that big a following. Kind of Canelo's the selling point in this fight. So you're gonna have Bivol, Beardrev, and Bivol's gonna want more money than when he fought Canelo. It gets tough. It gets a little tricky on that. I don't think that's possible. Now, if I was managing Canelo, would I tell him to take this rematch? Not next. I wouldn't tell him to take this next. I still take Golovkin next. I get Golovkin. I get an impressive performance, get the confidence back, and I would think about if I want to go back to 175. I don't. Maybe the money's there for that fight, but I don't think that's I don't think see anything changing here. So I don't know what they saw. Maybe they think that Canelo just didn't have the energy in this fight. Something was wrong, diet wise or whatever. They think and he just didn't show up that night, and they think that he could perform better. Maybe that's the only thing I could think of, right? That they could convince himself because it's not like to me, it's not like his power is going to mean more in the rematch. It isn't. His power is not going to mean more. And at mid range, especially late in the fight, like Bivol was getting very comfortable with him. Like I think Bivol is going to be really comfortable in the second fight, a lot more confidence too. So you're going to fight Bivol with a lot more confidence. He's not going to have to convince himself he belongs at that point. He knows he belongs at that point. He knows what Canelo has, and actually he's going to have even overconfidence. Even if that wasn't the real Canelo, he's going to have more confidence. He'll be like, look what I did to him. Like he's a true believer of himself now, if he wasn't before, right? Even if he was before, it's even more now. So you have to deal with that mind frame now. To me, it's like I just don't think that fight's gonna. I don't think it's gonna turn around. I really don't. I think that the fact that Canelo's chin held up or his body held up to these shots, the fight kind of remind me of De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins. It's just De La Hoya is very talented, very skilled, but it's just when you get to a point where it's just like a very talented, very skilled guy that's just bigger than you, just gonna win the fight. So I don't see where I don't see where the change happens here. I don't know what they go back and say. Yeah, we could do this. I think that Canelo can easily go back to 168. I think I would still favor him over Charlo. I think that there's going to be a little flip here now, right? That's what happens when guys lose. It's all about what you did for me lately. It's going to be people are going to try to drop Canelo off their pound for pound list, right? So this is how it's going to get insane for a little bit. It's going to get insane for a little bit. That people are going to drop him off their pound for pound list. And then now the Charlo fight and the Canelo fight, the odds are going to get like people are going to say this is like a 50-50 fight. Benavidez are going to be like Benavidez is probably going to be favored. It's going to get a little crazy with as far as how we see Canelo going forward. I think at 168, I still think Canelo. Well, the guys there, I still think he beats them all. Even the guys moving from 160 like Andrade, all that, I still think he beats them all. Those fights are all still there for him. There's still at least 5 fights. If those guys don't fight each other, it's like 5 fights for him there. And I just think that 175 is just too big for him. And he was able to catch Kovalev, right? But even a lot of people in that fight felt like he was down, right? Not me, but a lot of people felt like he was down in that fight. But he was able to catch him. That turned around. So if people thought he was down and scorecards were close, his power had something to do with it. Bivol his power didn't have nothing to do with it. It wasn't doing any effect on him. Like I can't get past that point because it's a major thing. It's like Canelo does depend on a lot on his power. Okay, it's hard when you take that away from him. And like late in the fight, Bivol was pushing him back against the ropes. Like he was pushing him back. He even countered him. Like he countered with a good like left hook. The thing he was very comfortable in that fight. He's going to be very comfortable in the rematch. I think you go to 168. I think you go 168. Those fights are a lot more closer now. Like the perception of it, so they're going to sound more. You still have a lot of options. You go fight Golovkin next. Coming off a loss, fight him. See what that third fight is with PBC with Matchroom, and then go the PBC route. I don't think he beats Bivol. I just don't. I don't think he beats Bivol. What they do with Bivol next, if Canelo doesn't fight him, I don't know. I don't know what they do with Bivol next because they have some guys like Zerto, I guess, right? But it's like never. It feels like he needs to be bigger, but this happens sometimes. Like Shea Mosley beat De La Hoya and then fought like on HBO like a regular card. Fought like on an HBO Dark against like Brendan Force. So, it just happens. It's not like he's going to become a superstar now because he beat Canelo. It's not that case. He's just more known than he was. And I think, of course, Bivol's team's going to want that rematch. Canelo already said he wants that rematch. But I'm not down on Canelo. I think like Canelo says he wants a rematch. Oh, let's see Broadway. Broadway, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? What are you thinking? What are you thinking of this fight?
Man, it was crazy. By the way, I can't be on too long.
But no, I got you.
Show you some love and shit.
All right, appreciate it.
Yo, man, it was a wild night, man. I honestly, me and you, we spoke on this. I thought this was the hardest fight he could take out of all the fights available to him. And to his credit, he took it. I think it was a stupid move. I called it a stupid move on my own channel. Uh, Not because I didn't think he had a chance to win. I thought I did end up picking Canelo, but I knew this was a 50-50 fight. You know, Bivol's somebody who's not known, somebody who's not an exciting fighter, somebody who's bigger than him. It made no sense to take this fight. It was an unnecessary risk, especially when you have, you know, Charlo, a smaller guy from 160 moving up to 168 to fight you. And then you got Benavidez, who, to be honest, I feel is very limited in his skills, although he is aggressive and has power, makes entertaining fights. I think that would have been in both two easy fights for, and maybe the guarantee would have been less money, but he definitely would have sold more pay-per-views with both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that 100%. And, you know, at least he would have his equal size, right? Like his power could do, you know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah, his power would be effective. You know what I mean? It just was a tough fight. Like his confidence was there, but you know, everybody was saying too, like after he fought Kovalev, he was like, "Hey, the power's, you know, too much there. Just the size is too much." But you know, who knows the confidence when you're knocking people out cold?
Yeah,
I don't know. You know, when the confidence when you're knocking people out cold, it's
yeah, but you know, this is where, yeah, I don't know if you listen to hip hop, but Jay-Z got a line that goes, "I don't know why your advisors ain't fall on you. Please, not him. Please, he's not for play." Like, I feel like Canelo, you a real fighter, man. Like you think you could. He was talking about fighting Usyk at 201.
yeah,
You,
that was actual talks going, you know, after before this
you
fight.
you supposed to talk like that. I don't have a problem with a fighter talking like that. Now, Eddie Reynoso, you think your guy is fucking Roy Jones? You think your guy is fucking Mike Tyson? Like, he's not that. He's a great fighter. He's a Hall of Famer. But it gets to a point where certain styles and size differences matter. And even if you remember the Kovalev fight, everybody's, oh, Kovalev's wash. But Kovalev was beating the shit out of Canelo up until he got knocked out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah, he was in that fight. He was definitely in that fight. It's like, you know, Kovalev uh had just unanimous decision Alvarez, and he stopped Yard, who I don't think is like an is not a credible opponent. So, you know, yeah, Kovalev was very good. I think that I'm sure he was more vulnerable than Bivol, and I thought that going into this fight. Like I knew that Bivol was not vulnerable. I thought he was facing the best Bivol possible.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's what it looked like tonight. What do you think this does to Canelo pound for pound wise?
He definitely drops. Shit. The way these guys, like let's say Jamal beats Castano,
Castano.
you
Yeah.
know, like he's on a really impressive run. He definitely moves up. Uh, you know, Spence just beat Ugas, you know, 3-belt unification. He these, you know, there's a lot of guys doing a lot of things, man. The new way, you know, he definitely falls down to at least 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Possibly, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna re-examine my list for sure after this. I'm gonna have to re-examine, see where he's gonna drop. I heard people say he's gonna drop off the list. You know, I think people really critical of Canelo. You know, what I mean, people are real critical. If you start getting praise, too much praise, people are gonna start. That's the problem I have. Is like we praise. You know, when guys get too much praise, we're so critical of the best guys that, and we're so like over complimentary of like average guys that they're like almost close to each other. Like it almost brings them like close to each other in our
Yeah,
minds.
like I'm a Canelo fan, but he's not my favorite fighter. You know, Teal's my guy, but
Mm-hmm.
I find myself defending him so much that people call me a fanboy. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah,
you're just a
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
hater. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, who the fuck has he fought? Like, who the fuck is your favorite fighter fought? Like, when you look at the guys like Andrade and Benavidez and Charlo and Plan and all the guys that they, you know, in and around his division that people saying are better than him or people saying he's ducking, they not fighting nobody. They really fighting Euro bums.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I put up behind me right now just the notable wins. He has 8 notable wins. I mean, that's for right now for like the level of fighters we have out right now. 8 notable wins is pretty damn good. You get a lot of guys, you get to 3, and it's like you get hard to get to 4. You know what I mean? To find notable wins that they would have. So 8 notable wins is damn good for
No,
fighters right now.
and fighting Lara when he fought Lara was it's an underrated, like, how do I say, like an underrated like he should get extra points for that. He did another fight. Nobody was trying to fight Lara at that time, and he fought him and beat him. And to me, he beat him legitimate. People try to say that it was a robbery. I thought he won. And same thing with Trout. Beat him off his biggest win off the beating Cotto. He beat Jacobs. Like, he beat a lot of solid guys. I don't understand where people get the notion that he doesn't fight black fighters or that he doesn't fight tough competitions when he's beating a lot of guys who fit the mold of what they saying he don't fight.
Yeah, it's just everybody's just critical. I mean, everybody's critical of. I just feel like anyone that gets praised, people are gonna be extra critical of. I just think we have to be careful when we give too much praise to like average fighters, and then the best guys we knock them down so many pegs that they're just like we have everybody in the same thing. It's like it's okay. I know that everybody wants to put these fighters in the past as like all-time greats, and they're never could be touched. The guys that people grew up with, or those guys, they can't be touched. So if Canelo is compared to Chavez, right, people just are not down with that, right? They don't want that. They don't think he's even close. They don't even want to entertain the idea of that. And then that's suddenly it's like, I gotta attack this guy's thing. I gotta show you why. And you just start tackling. You just start and then you won't say anything positive. I think that's what happens a lot, and I think that's what's happening in Canelo's situation.
Yeah, no, but honestly, me and you, we both lived the Mayweather era, and we saw a lot of hate get thrown his way.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it was to the level of what Canelo's getting. I really don't, and that may be a little bit.
That's a good question. That's a good point. I don't know actually. Yeah, Mayweather did get a lot of hate. He had a lot of love too, and Canelo has a lot of love too. I mean,
The
from
thing
his
is,
fans.
Mayweather got hate because of how he conducted himself. Canelo gets hate off of like who he's fighting, and I'm like, okay, we look at who he's fighting, and then you look at and I'm a Crawford fan, but let's just say Crawford, who Crawford is fighting, is like, okay, so if you're gonna talk shit about Canelo, what's up with this guy? Like, why are we not criticizing him? Obviously, we have to understand certain circumstances is happening, and then you gotta look at who his contemporaries are fighting, and then be like, all right, amongst his contemporaries, he's the one facing the best competition.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything is context. Everything is not.
Everything is context. Yeah, and I think that I don't know why. I know right now that like until Canelo fights again, everybody's gonna be down on him for sure. Everyone's gonna be super down on him. I'm gonna call it what it is. I think he fought another great fighter. Now, Canelo wasn't the levels above that I thought he would be, right? To where he would be able to pull off something like this. In my mind, it does bring him down a few pegs, you know what I mean? Because it's just that he was getting into the conversation of like all-time greats that were just like moving up in weight classes, and their skill level was so much that even guys that were so much bigger than him, he would be able to, figure out a way to beat them because of his skill. In this fight, it didn't look like that, right? It looked like he was Bivol, but just in the weight classes below. So you know what I mean. So I think that as far as that idea of him, that it knocked down a few pegs. But I know he's great. You're not gonna tell me he's like overrated, or you're not gonna tell me that everything he did before was smoke and mirrors. That's not the case. Okay, that's not the case.
No,
We're not gonna do that.
And Bivol, and to Bivol's credit, he admitted, he's like, yo, he fucked up my arm. Like, yo, my arm was messed up. I was hurt. Yeah, there was times he hurt me, and he kept it real. And it's not like I don't feel like Canelo went in there and embarrassed himself. He just lost to the better fighter. I mean, the bigger fighter. And the reason I had a feeling Canelo was gonna lose, and that's why I always kept saying this was a 50-50 fight, is because Canelo hasn't fought somebody with that kind of footwork in a long time. And then you add the height advantage, and you add on top of that, he's a fantastic jabber. It was just a recipe for disaster, man.
Yeah, it was all the things that people say that Canelo had a problem with. They were like, "Oh, this guy could actually do it." Because when the fight was like just made, and I heard people talk about it, they were like, "Oh, he doesn't have a power jab, so he has no chance of winning." And I would remember thinking like, "Well, no, Bivol has a decent jab. Now, whether it's a power jab, that's up for interpretation, I guess. But he has a good jab. It's like a piston-like jab, right? Like, and he could throw like a continuous jab. He could double it up, triple it up. Like I think he had a good jab. So I think it was all those things, like people wanted those questions answered. I just knew that, what I was taking from this fight is that people were trying to downplay Bivol, what he was, and just because he's not famous, right? He's not the guy that they wanted to see. People want to see Charlo. People thought that was the bigger fight. People want to see the bigger fight. They don't care about the more competitive fight. They want to see the bigger fight.
No, but
And
the
this
thing is,
wasn't the biggest fight.
no, but the thing is with Canelo, what I don't understand. Again, this is where I get to back to the line. I don't know why your advisors didn't fall on you, bro. Why are you taking a harder fight against a less popular fighter, which you may get more upfront money, but you definitely getting less back end money. You
Yeah.
know, Showtime does a way better job just in promoting. Forget who's the bigger fighter. Showtime does a better job in promoting than the Zone. You fuck with Showtime. You beat Charlo, which is an easier fight. You beat Benavidez, again another easy fight. Not easy, but when I say easy, I mean easier than the Bivol fight. Face those two guys. You defend your undisputed titles twice, so that adds to your legacy. Not only do you become undisputed in 11 months, you also defended it twice against two top tier fighters. And then if you want to entertain moving up, you do it. Because if you remember, well, I don't know if you saw the interview where in the hot boxing in the hot boxing with Mike Tyson, he said that he don't want to fight at 175 no more. That those punches was too hard up there. But yet
Yeah,
now,
yeah, I remember that. I read like the snippet of that, but yeah, like what changed from that point, right? Like what
yo,
changed that you were like, I'm gonna take on Bivol. You know what I mean? Unless he didn't think much of Bivol either. I don't know, but I do think that they were trying to figure out like they were thinking legacy, right? And they were thinking like if he could become an undisputed at 175, he was undisputed at 168, champion at 160, and a champion at 154. That's like legacy wise. They're like, we're building a major thing here. I think that's what they were thinking, and I think
no,
they
but
thought,
but but the thing is, right? If he would have beat Bivol, let's say, which obviously he didn't, and then you move down and defend your undisputed titles, you have to vacate. You have to vacate you can't defend a title and by being a champion in another division. That's not how it works.
yeah, but I think he probably. I mean, I don't think him keeping the undisputed at 168 even matters to him anymore. I don't think that. I mean, he got it. He's undisputed. What
To
does he
me,
need
to
to?
me, what he should have done if he really wanted to go undisputed at 175, he should have just let those guys sort it out up there. Let those big guys and then once, let's say Beterbiev would have beat Bivol, hypothetically speaking, or Bivol would have
Mhm.
beat Beterbiev. Then you move up and wait and you fight, and the hard work is already done for you. All you got to do is beat the guy who got all the belts. And let's say he would have lost to Bivol, we'd be like, no, but he lost to an undisputed champion. Now you just losing to a guy who's the number two light heavyweight. He's not even the number one.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I don't get
that's
it.
up for
I really
debate.
don't.
Yeah, I mean, well now, especially because we got hindsight. But yeah, I think me and you were both saying like this is the toughest fight. He chose the toughest fight. That's why I was like,
No,
people being critical of it. I was like, we chose a tougher fight. I mean,
yeah,
we can't say that like you, you can't. To me, you couldn't make an argument that Charlo was a tougher fight than Bivol.
no,
To me, the argument couldn't be had.
no. You that there's no argument there, and I'm not using hindsight. I said it from before. I was like, this is a 50-50 fight. When I say it's a 50-50 fight, meaning I'm not surprised he lost. Like, you
Yeah,
get what I'm saying?
no,
I,
that's why I
I
said
knew
too. I was like,
it
I'm
was
not surprised if he
legit.
loses.
I knew it was a legit possibility he could lose. I didn't think he would, but I knew if he did lose, I wouldn't be shocked, which I'm not shocked. I'm disappointed, but
You,
I'm not shocked.
this is a gift to boxing, though, right? Which has
No,
already been a great year. This is a gift to boxing. This is an absolute gift to boxing because we were going to finish up with Canelo versus Triple G and maybe John Ryder. We were going to finish it up with that, right? We were going to have a great year, but we were going to finish up with that. Now you're going to finish up with one of the most anticipated rematches in a very long time.
no, and you know what? Now that you said that, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know why this is a gift to boxing? Because now the argument for number one pound for pound gets a lot more exciting.
Oh yeah, well now the pound for pound is can Usyk beat Joshua again, and if Terrence Crawford and Spence get made, the winner of that for sure is going to move up to number one
Yeah.
pound for pound.
Also, where did we leave off Inoue? He's fighting Nonito Donaire in a three belt unification, and and the reason why I always bring up Donaire Inoue when it comes to pound for pound is because you gotta like nobody is being as dominant as he is in any other division. Like if he was doing this at cruiserweight, just blasting dudes out in 2 rounds and breaking dudes' ribs and noses and stuff like that. He would be a superstar, but he's doing that at 118. So it's like, he's not getting as much attention.
I the only thing I'm gonna say about Inoue, and I'm a fan of Inoue. He's top. I think he's like top 4 in my pound for pound list. He- there's 115. There's 1,000 names right there at 115. Right. I looked at 115's top 10. It's the best top 10 in boxing today. Okay, it's the best top 10 from like
I
1 to
disagree.
9.
I disagree, but okay.
Who do you have better top 10 at a weight class?
140. 140.
You think 140 is a better top 10 than 115?
To be fair, I'm not too familiar with the smaller guys, so
But I think you'll know all the names though. Like you'll know all the names at one. I was surprised.
Let me look.
Okay, but let me say this though.
Yeah,
115 is right there. He's 118. 115 is right there. Right. He was at 115. He fought none of these guys. And it's not like a lot of these names are new. No, most of these names have been there. And I'm sure politics got in the way. Whatever it is, right? But we hold everyone against politics against everyone. I mean, look at Charlo. Politics have gotten in the way of Jamal his whole career. Andrade, and we hold that against them. We don't put them in the pound for pound just because they're knocking out their guys. We're like, no, he hasn't fought anyone. And I'm not saying Inoue hasn't fought anyone. He has fought credible opponents, very credible opponents. But to me, if you have 115 right there, and you were there, and you didn't fight any of them, and now you're going to fight Donaire again, and the fight that wasn't really supposed to be that competitive as it was, we're going to give him credit because he underperformed in a fight. You know what I mean? Like he underperformed against Donaire. So now we're going to give him credit because he's going to win a rematch. That's kind of like giving credit to Anthony Joshua for beating Andy Ruiz the second time. More credit. It's like, it doesn't make sense. No, you shouldn't have lost the first time. Maybe the first fight shouldn't have been as competitive. So I'm not doubting in a way. I think he's one of the best fighters in the world if we're just going off ability wise.
No,
but I mean, I can't keep raising him up by pound for pound or keep him at the top.
My thing is like I give extra credit for dominance. Like
I do too.
When you run through the World Boxing Super Series, blasting dudes out and breaking dudes' noses in the second round and stopping them, like I can't ignore that. And you knocked out Payano in 1 round, and you knock out Rodriguez in 2. It's like, okay, that guy's different. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, he went to decision with Donaire. I mean, he got his eye socket broken. He went through. He fought like a warrior, but he's rematching that guy, and potentially he's going to get the stoppage that he couldn't get. I don't know. We'll see. Because
if he looks dominating and he blows him out first, second, third round, then okay, I'll give him credit for it. I'm like, okay, that's what he should have done, right? Probably in the first one, he showed that he's dominant compared to this level fighter. But all those guys you named in the tournament, they're not Francisco Estrada. They're not Chocolatito. They're not even. I mean, Bam's new. Bam Rodriguez is new. They're not Rumbasai. They're not those guys. You know what I mean? So
let them dudes to step up to 118 then.
But he was at 115, and I'm sure they were. I mean, Chocolatito's talking about going to 118. He's talking about that's where he's going to go next. And I'm sure that they can make a fight, some kind of catch weight. That's only 3 pounds. And whether you're,
catch weight for 3, this is 3 pounds.
I'm just saying. I'm saying if you talk to Lord of the Flies, he'll tell you that his theory is that it's harder actually to move up weight because it's such a small percentage of your body. I think that's overthinking it, and I kind of have my doubts about that theory. But let's just say if that's the case, let's get some catch weight fights going. Then let's go Estrada pound and a half. Let's meet at move at 16 and a half. Whatever it takes to make this fight, let's make it. But I'm sorry, I'm not gonna keep giving credit to Inoue, for fighting Donaire twice. I'm just not.
Hold on. What if he moves up to 122 and fights?
I would love that. If he fights Fulton or MJ, he starts raising up again my pound for pound. If he does that, I mean, I can't doubt him then. But he's got to start doing stuff like that.
All right, circling back to the conversation I started with the pound for pound list. I agree his resume necessarily doesn't stand next to a Usyk or Canelo, prior to this loss, or even a Spence. But again, nobody it was doing that kind of dominance.
Yeah, the dominance. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
It's eye popping. We've never seen a little guy like this. The only little guy that reminded me a little bit of this, not so much, not quite as dominant, but I remember he was knocking dudes out cold, was Vic Darchinyan. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember Darchinyan. Yeah, that's what made Donaire famous.
Yeah, he was really doing guys dirty, and then eventually he got old overnight and started losing, got knocked out. But yeah, I don't know. I give extra credit for dominance, and for sure he's in the argument for number one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you on that. I just want to see, I want to see him. There's opponents around him that I'm just saying that we can make happen. That I feel like would definitely, if he wants to go and get that, claim that top three or even number one spot. There's things that can make it happen. I mean, if Fulton wins his next fight right against Roman, and anyway goes and beats Fulton, I mean, it'd be hard for me to say he's not a top three, top two case for number one pound for pound fighter. I mean, it's just really hard to say.
Well, I'm looking at Ring Magazine, right? And this is the top five. He's the Ring Magazine champion. The top five is Nonito Donaire, who he already beat, and is gonna fight again. So he's about to fight the number one guy. Number two is Casemiro, who he's having his problems.
Well, yeah, he lost the belt, and it doesn't seem like he can make weight anymore.
Yeah. Number three is Emmanuel Rodriguez.
One thing that before we go above that, do you remember when we said that Casemiro can't make weight anymore, and that people were making excuses for him that he could make weight? He just got sick with the stomach virus.
I remember.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we get a credit.
No. Listen, listen. When it comes to the spaces, man, I feel like a lot of people bend the truth to fit
their narrative. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like it gets a bit frustrating. Listen, I had one dude tell me, because we was having a debate about Canelo. So one dude told me, I don't know if he was on this space, but one dude told me that Gabe Rosado beat Danny Jacobs better than Canelo.
No, I was on that space. Yeah, I was on that space. It was an outrageous,
bro,
it was an outrageous comment to make.
Are we having a real boxing conversation, or you just being an asshole? You get what I'm saying? It's like,
no, I couldn't believe what he said either. I was like, okay.
Like, I understand you, like how he said, oh, well, I thought Canelo lost to Lara. Okay, I mean, I don't think so, but that you being reasonable. That's not
a debate. You can have a debate, yeah.
But I'm like, come on, man. Like, we're not having a real boxing conversation when you say dumb shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think people just want to paint it the way they want to paint it. That's just the case of it.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking all this about anyway. He's number 3 on my pound for pound resume. So, and with Canelo dropping, he's going to be number 2. So,
yeah, all right. See, you got me over here defending him.
No, I know.
He's gonna
be number 2. But if he fights Donaire again, right, and it's the same performance, he's going to drop. Performance-wise, he's going to drop. It's got to be more. It's got to be more effective. You know what I mean? For me to keep him on above guys like Estrada, Spence, Crawford. You know what I mean?
Canelo, that's what I was mentioning earlier. There's a lot of good fights lined up where people could get boosted up pretty quick. Again, Jermell Charlo beating, let's just say he beats Castano, he could move up big. Fulton, if he beats Roman, that's a good win. He can move up big.
Does Bivol move into? Is he consider moving him in your top 10 pound for pound?
I haven't made a top 10. It's funny. I've seen all these top 10s, and I have my opinions on other people's. I've never made one myself. I probably should get on one, but yeah. Honestly, I can't see you not putting him. He just beat who was number 1 on mine, and his resume isn't shit. He beat Joe Smith, who now has a belt. He beat Pascal, who probably was fucking juiced to the gills, and at the time was a decent fighter. I could see him sneaking in at number 9 or 10. I could see that.
I think I'm gonna keep him off right now. I'm gonna let Jermell and Castano play out. And if Jermell loses that fight and Castano wins, I'll move Bivol my top 10. If Jermell wins, I don't think Bivol's gonna make my top 10.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. I mean, those again. As I always say, we living in a golden era of boxing. So if you make it into somebody's top 10, you doing something. It's hard out here, man. To prove you the best, you got to do a lot, man. You got to do what Usyk did, going to other motherfuckers' countries and moving up a weight. You got to do what Inui's doing, dominating and knocking motherfuckers out, and Canelo, you're going undisputed in 11 months. You got to be really, really special in this era. We living in a golden era, so I definitely see your point.
Yeah, I mean, this top 10 is stacked. I mean, the pound for pound top 10 is stacked. I I mean, the fact that like Jermell, who to me is a pretty damn good talent, and as far as like if I did like a 154 tournament, like Jermell to me is going to be competitive with a lot of all-time greats just because this guy has a lot of ability. Like Jermell does not get tired at all. His power carries from like what he has in the first round, he's going to have in the last round. Like his stamina is like all time to me. Like I've never seen anyone hold up their stamina. This is how his stamina holds up and his power holds up. So if he could get the job done, Castano, who I think Castano maxed out what he could do in that fight, and if Jermell, I think could get better. If he does get better in that fight, like
Well,
he's definitely gonna move by pound for pound.
well, one thing I will say about that fight is I felt like Castano was the stronger fighter, and I feel very strongly about that. He had Charlo on the ropes when he didn't want to be on the ropes. At times when they went inside, he was pushing them, and he definitely controlled the work on the inside. I do think that Charlo's power uh, is definitely much more than Castano, but Castano's a very tricky guy. When he would get hurt, he would just move his head and move his and block a lot of punches with his gloves. But it's an interesting fight. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking like technique wise, like what's Castano gonna do different? I think kind of that Castano did what he wanted to do in that fight. You know what I mean? And I think that Jermell can make some more uh, strategic like changes in the fight than Castano can. I don't think Castano's gonna do what he does, and not saying that he can't win doing what he does, but I'm just curious to see what changes Jermell can make and how Castano will kind of react to those. That's kind of what I mean.
Well, listen, if Jermell is just more active, I think he wins that fight. But he for whatever reason he wasn't as active, and I feel like that's what cost him the fight. So
Yeah, he looked unbalanced to me too at points. Like it just looked to me, it was like the sloppiest I've seen him look in a long time in that fight, and it was a great fight. I'm not even knocking the performance; it was a great fight from both of them. But I just thought like he didn't look as sharpest to me. But it could be just Castano, just that's what he does. You know what I mean? He just constantly has Jermell against the ropes and not being able to set up his shots. Let's see. We're gonna see that's why we're gonna say rematch. But I'm gonna say Jermell's gonna be able to make some adjustments to this fight.
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting fight. All these delays, I felt like Castano won the first one. It's not the fight's not in Texas like how the first one was in his hometown. I mean, his home state wasn't his hometown, but his home state. So there's a lot of changes going on. Castano ruptured his bicep and got surgery. How does that affect
Well,
this?
that's another thing too, yeah, because he looked heavy as hell too when I see him last time. He was getting entering camp. So
There's a lot of variables that we won't know up until the fight night, which is Saturday night. I can't wait. And Boots Ennis is fighting Castillo Clayton for
yeah, he is. Yeah.
eliminate on the undercard.
Yeah, he is. I don't know why they put that fight in LA, and I live in LA, but I don't know why they did that because I
You
don't.
going? You going?
No, I'm not gonna go. I just got COVID, and my girl got COVID, my baby got COVID. I'm not taking any more chances. I'm not going anywhere. I won't be seeing outside.
Pandemic is over, bro. Come on.
Not for me. I just went through hell, so the pandemic is very much
Bro,
alive
you
in my
got
house.
antibodies. You cute. You good.
So the antibodies took a beating last week. They were Canelo last week. They were on the ropes. They were frustrated. They didn't know what the hell to do.
Yeah, I would have won. If that fight was in New York and I had antibodies, I would have won.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. That's what I'm saying. But I don't know. Like I thought, like why not put that fight in Texas? Was it in Texas last time? That fight should have been in Texas.
I spoke with Jake Donovan, and he said that Castano said that he wouldn't take the fight if the fight was in Texas. But that fight made no sense in LA. No disrespect.
It doesn't make no. It doesn't make any sense. I've already said that too. I thought that too.
Put that fight in Vegas or New York. The thing is, New York is a real boxing city. Like we'll show up if you put up a good fight. It really doesn't matter about the person's race or where he's from. Like we'll show up, and that's a fight we would have shown up for. If you putting Boots Ennis on the undercard, he's from Philly. That's a 2-hour drive from New York. Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, I also thought too, like the choice of arena is kind of interesting, right? Because if you're gonna do it here, they might as well do it at the Staples Center or wherever the hell it's called now. But because it's like more of an event if it's out there, right? People will dress up more if it's there, right? They feel like they're going out to a big event. When you do it at War Grounds, it's not. It's like way more casual. you're outside. It's it could be uncomfortable. So like people dress like casually. It just doesn't feel like an event. So to me, it's just for this fight, it's just all wrong. That's what I feel like.
The only thing I will say is that place is known for wars. Like,
yeah, it is. It
you
is.
think
It
of some
is.
of the best fights ever that they happened there. So I don't know
Yeah,
if they're anticipating.
I saw Bradley Pronikov there. I saw what's the other one fight of the year?
Brandon Rios,
Brandon Rios. Yeah, I saw Brandon Rios, Mike Alvarado there.
Vasquez.
I didn't see that one. I think that was before I was going there. I see a lot of fights there. I even saw Tarver versus Latif Coyote there.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I even saw that one.
Latif Coyote was accusing Showtime of being biased.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he screwed himself. Yeah, he screwed himself. He lost the whole. Showtime never put it back on TV when he did that. He made a big mistake. I used to train with Latif. I used to go running with him, and I was to think like, dude, you screwed up. You would at least got a rematch in that fight. Like you would have got more opportunities. But when he did that, that was it. They were done with him.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, yo, the rematch has to be on HBO. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was like Tarver talks for Showtime. Like he's literally their commentator.
Yo, like I you know what it is? And I think just because he wasn't American, he didn't exactly understand like I guess the rivalry HBO and Showtime have, and then obviously you're discrediting or fights that happen on their network, saying that they're always going to favor the Showtime fight. It was just a bad.
He's a hothead. Like he knows what he did. He just doesn't care. Like he's a hothead. Like he's like not that like he's like willing to fight any moment, but he's just like if you get him mad, he's just gonna say whatever. Like he don't care. I mean, and he really hurt himself in that one. He hurt.
But honestly, I don't think he was that good anyway. So
no, but there was paydays there for him. There were some paydays for him there. They
was pushing him, and they never pushed cruiserweights.
They put a lot of time into him. Freddie Roach put a lot of time into him. Like he was at that when I first started going to Wild Card, like he was like one of the bigger fighters there. Like people thought that he was gonna, there was effort and push behind him, and then that just slowed it down completely.
Yeah, man, that was a funny time in boxing history.
Yeah, that's what Canelo should have said today. He's like, the next one needs to be on PBC. We'll run it back, but it has to be on PBC. It has to be on Showtime. Should have said that. That's what he should have said.
Yeah,
dude, this was amazing for DAZN though. What a great night for DAZN. They're probably so happy.
I don't know, man. Again, I'm looking at it I'm a fan before anything, and I'm not the biggest Canelo fan, but I'm definitely a Canelo fan, and I wanted to see him win, and I wanted to say, I lived through one of the greatest of all time. And although he's still a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, but okay, so say he comes, okay, now Bivol, we know he's legit, right? No one could say he's not legit, right?
I've been Canelo. Me and you.
Yeah, we knew he was, but I'm saying everyone now. Like, you gotta capture everyone's mind, right? He's legit. Okay, now you have a rematch. If Canelo goes and beats him, right? Come back, revenges that fight, right? And beats him. There's no doubt of like, oh damn, this dude is literally an all-time great. It's okay to lose. You can lose. That's fine. Can you go back and get it? Right? Because even if Joshua loses to Usyk, but he goes back and gets it, I mean, you're gonna be like, oh damn, that's crazy. This guy did it. He went and got that fight. This major fight, this rematch is gonna be bigger than the first one. He went back and did it. And against a guy that we know is a credible opponent because of the first fight. That's a huge fight. It's humongous. It's a humongous fight. It's gonna end up being probably one of the biggest fights of the year. That rematch. Yeah, but to me, I think boxing has struck gold with this.
I wonder what the numbers are.
Even if they're not good today, right? Which I think they are. I mean, I think the Canelo's going to sell no matter what. That's another thing. Because I know you got to go, but I just want to get you on this real quick. The undercard, like this whole thing with the undercard sucks and everything like that. That undercard did not matter. Like the undercard when a superstar fights does not matter. I think that people overrate these undercards or put too much importance into these undercards. When Canelo fought Plant, like that undercard wasn't great. That undercard was especially on paper, that was a trash undercard. Okay, maybe the knockout, there was some knockouts from Doral, right? But definitely who cared? That matchup sucked. It was a horrible matchup.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a trash undercard. So that's what I'm saying. It's just little things to paint a narrative on, like against DAZN and Matchroom. It's like, of course, this dude's getting paid $45 million guaranteed. The other guy's getting paid about 10. You think they were going to put money in this undercard? The mistake they made, and I would have told them, and this is what my strategy would have been, is put taxi cab drivers in there and get highlight reel knockouts. That's all you needed, right? Because no one was complaining when who was the heavyweight?
Yo, Ezra, my
Go
bad,
ahead.
bro.
You're good,
I
man.
gotta run.
Go and take care of that baby, man.
Yeah,
I get you.
I gotta take care of my son.
All
But yo,
right, I got you.
appreciate you having me on, man. Everybody listening, hit that subscribe button. Ezra.
Oh yeah, listen. Also, Broadway Joe. Listen, his thing. I'll keep selling you, man. You can bounce out. I'll just don't worry.
All
I'll
right,
give you
cool,
your
cool.
advertisement.
I appreciate you. I'll
All
still be
right.
listening though.
No, I got you. I got you.
All right, cool. All right, bye.
That's Broadway Joe. Listen, subscribe to Broadway Joel. That's Joel. I'll bring it up right now. He's better at controlling this whole thing than I am. But Broadway Joe, go to his YouTube, subscribe. This guy has excellent content, probably some of the best content on YouTube. It's better than mine. I'm going to say it right now. I'm 100% confident, comfortable saying that. This guy, you have to do things with people that are better than you at stuff, because that pushes you to be better, right? My podcast is where it's at because of guys like Broadway. Also listen to Truth Over Narrative, right? That's another a guy coming up on doing fight breakdowns, and very knowledgeable, like very, very knowledgeable. Gives you that's how you get excited for fights. It's like you listen to other people and how they break it down, so at least you know what to kind of expect when you're watching a fight, and you can see if it plays out the way this guy's saying it, right? Or if it's not playing out that way, you'll have an idea of like, oh, well, he's not doing this, so that's why he's struggling in this fight. So Broadway Joel, Truth Over Narrative, listen to these guys. They're very good. Subscribe, give them support. These guys are putting a lot of effort into these podcasts. They're putting they're taking the time. They're really going after it, really like chasing a dream with them and putting the work in to do it. But let's talk about the undercard real quick, because I think it's really overblown. Like, oh, this undercard's trash, and why do they do this undercard? And they don't understand the market. All these undercards are trash when they have a superstar, because people are buying the pay-per-view. No one's ever bought a pay-per-view when a superstar is there, because the undercard was like, I need to see this undercard. Okay, it just doesn't happen unless like you're like unless you're a cycle boxing fan like I am, or like Joel is, or like anyone on boxing Twitter, right? Then those guys will. Those guys will watch a lot of stuff you're not going to watch. But regular fans are buying the main event. That's it. Okay, this undercard and all this stuff, it doesn't matter. Okay, most of the people are drinking, not paying attention, talking, and everything until the main event starts. Go to anyone that has a boxing party, UFC party, all those things. It's all about the main event. Okay, the main event sells. That's what sells pay-per-views. No one's ever said, hey, they did 800K. Thank God for the undercard. They did 800,000 buys. Thank God for the undercard. It was undercard. Well, then you better start paying the undercard a lot more than if they're doing the 800,000 buys. Earl Spence and Ugas undercard was Isaac Cruz versus Gamboa and Valenzuela versus Vargas. Okay, those are one-sided, lopsided matchups. But they did what they served the purpose, right? Highlight reel knockouts, stoppages. No one complained, right? They had something to see, right? There was something to talk about, something to put on Twitter, onto TikTok, and everything. Look at this knockout. Oh, wow, right? But really, those are one-sided matchups, because a casual fan doesn't know what the hell they're looking at. They don't care about. They only know the two guys fighting in the main event. They don't know about these guys. So now they just think, oh, these two guys fought. Their records look all right. Like you look at Gamboa, you're like, he has a few losses, but he has a lot of wins too. You gave Terrence Crawford a tough fight. That's all the announcers say. He's like, oh, he gave Terrence Crawford a tough fight. You're like, oh, let me see this guy. Oh, he's got slept. He's got knocked out cold. Isaac Cruz must be a beast. He must be the next big thing. Okay, this is the mistake that DAZN made. They should have just, instead of trying to match it up well or give a competitive fight, which ends up a lot of times competitive fights could end up being a boring fight. Like with Montana Love, who I have my complaints about. I'll save that for another podcast. I feel like we're kind of running long on this one anyways. But it just ended up being, it was a competitive fight. You couldn't say that wasn't competitive. That was super competitive, right? It was a super competitive fight. It just wasn't entertaining to a person that wants to see action. That wasn't an action-packed fight. So what you should do was, the mistake they did, you should have put a taxi cab driver in there with him so he could use all his skills, look amazing. Put it like a guy that, they put him in sparring. In sparring, a lot of times they put you in like two good, decent guys, and they put you like a guy that's like really inexperienced, so you can use all the things you've been practicing. You could do, and it builds your confidence, and you can get the timing down. That's what he should did. Put him in the thing where he could use everything, get a highlight reel knockout, get a stoppage, look impressive, do all those things, right? And then no one would complain. I promise you, no one would complain. Right? They would complain on paper, right? They would be like, "Oh, that's a mismatch." And then when he knocks a guy out cold, people just post it. They just want to retweet it. Just want something to see. Like, "Oh, look at this knockout. That's crazy." Estrada, what's her name? Sensei Estrada. I always have a problem with her. Super bad, right? She knocked out a girl that was just like a soccer mom. She knocked her out cold, like 2 shots. No one ever brings that up when that highlight comes on. They don't be like, "Oh, that's a soccer mom she knocked out." No, they just showed the knockout. Don't be fooled by this. Now, I think that on regular cards, you need that are not pay-per-view, that don't have a superstar, you do need a decent card, right? You need to build your brand that, like, okay, they do put on good cards. When I'm ordering this, like UFC, they put competitive matchups out because they're not just selling the main event; they're selling the whole thing. Okay, and that's what you need to do when you don't have a superstar. But when you have a superstar, just get the highlight reel knockouts on the undercard. That's all you need. Highlight reel knockouts. Put a taxi cab driver on there and let Montana Love get the highlight reel knockout. They put this competitive fight like if they want the other guy to win. They don't want the other guy to win. It would have been a horrible thing for them to win. Also, too, though, just know that more people know Montana Love today, even in that terrible matchup, than they did yesterday. So that also was a plus. That also was the effectiveness of what they were doing. Montana Love is more known today than he was yesterday, even in that performance where people don't like that fight. Okay, even this funny thing is the heavyweight, right? I'm trying to think. I can't think of his name right now. The one that's going to fight Orgovic. He got a knockout against a guy that was literally retired, who came in on a week's notice, less than a week's notice. He got the knockout. No one brought that up. No one was like, that guy didn't belong in there. No, they were like, damn. A lot of people were saying like he probably wins that fight against Orvic. That's all it is. It's that simple. It really is. I think we overcomplicate this thing. I don't know why the hell they try to make these fights like to test Montana Love. Why are you going to test Montana Love? You put money into him. Why are you going to test him? Don't test him against someone good. Test him against Mikey Garcia or and someone at 140 that is actually credible. No one wanted to see him in a tough fight where it's like back and forth. And Zhang Zhili, Vivi, I love you. Zhang Zhili. People think Zhang Zhili has a chance now. Going into the fight, I thought Zhang Zhili had no chance in that fight if he was going to fight Orgovic. Vivi would know how to pronounce that name. But thank you for saying his name. And now he has a chance because he knocked out a guy that was retired who came off the couch. No one gives a damn about who is this guy? They just want to see a knockout. It's just the truth of it. And when you have Canelo, just give people 3 knockouts and then give them Canelo. And you notice what no one's going to talk about tomorrow is that damn undercard. No one will talk about that tomorrow. They're going to talk about Canelo losing. That's all they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about Canelo losing. So don't give me this whole undercard and this whole thing. We're going to be like, oh, what are they doing? They don't understand. It doesn't matter. Canelo lost to Bivol. That's the biggest story. This is the best thing that happened to DAZN was Canelo losing to Bivol. Now you have a massive rematch. And you know what that rematch is going to have? A crap undercard. I guarantee it. It will have a crap undercard because Bivol's going to get paid more and Canelo's going to want more. Okay, it's going to have a crap undercard. So I just think it's overblown, right? I just think it's really overblown. And if you remember Caleb Plant versus Canelo, that was a crap undercard as well. Okay, that was a crap undercard as well. So it just had knockouts. That's all it is. It just has stoppages, and that's what we remember. But no one was like, oh man, that undercard. Let's talk about it. No one was like, let's give a breakdown of the undercard. Sorry, it's just not it. And if we think that that's what people were tuning in today, no, people were tuning in for Canelo. That's why the whole damn. If you notice, arenas are empty when the undercard's happening. That right there is the sample of what people are doing at parties. They are not paying attention. Main event's on. Everybody goes, shh, main event's on. Shh, shut up. Main event's on. That's what they say. So that we're not going to overblow this this whole undercard thing. We're not going to do that. I don't see the I still see the controversy in it. I really don't. I don't see it being a big deal. Canelo losing, that's a big deal. And I think they have a massive rematch. You have the best thing that happened to DAZN was him losing. And now they can sell this fight. And before, when we were going to get Bivol, Golovkin, which is a fight that to me, casuals want to see. Real boxing fans don't really care for because Golovkin's older, right? He's past his prime. He's moving up in weight this late in his career. And you were going to get John Ryder. Now you're going to get 2 Bivol matches in a match that he already lost, and now the rematch is going to be huge, right? We're going to get towards the end of the year, you're going to get a massive Bivol fight. And even if Canelo loses that one, and now it's like he's really down on his luck, he goes fight Triple G. Like now that people are going to be like, that's a competitive fight. Now this is the fight that I'm interested in seeing. This worked out perfectly for DAZN Matchroom and possibly Canelo too. Because if Canelo goes and beats Bivol now, right after now Bivol proved how credible he is and how the performance he had today, it's even a bigger win for him now. If he would have beat Bivol, then people would have been like, "Well, Bivol was nothing. He never was proven." Now he's proven. He's a legit opponent now. Not to me. I knew that Bivol was going to be a tough opponent, but I'm just saying that a lot of the narrative going in was that Bivol was there to lose. He wasn't there to win. He was, Canelo was going to eventually break him down just like he breaks everybody down. And this guy was never been at this level, and he's never been under the lights like this. Well, look, he just performed excellent. He just gave a just put it on Canelo. Actually, he put it on Canelo late. Now they go rematch. He's gonna be favorite. So now Canelo's making a comeback. He's fighting a guy that's a favorite against him, a bigger man than him. And if he could pull that off, that's a massive win. It suddenly turns into his number one win. This was a top 3 win. Now it's his number one win if he pulls this off. And you know what? Worst case scenario, he loses it. He goes back to 168, where I still think he's king. I still think he beats everybody at 168. So I think it works out perfectly for him. I think that everything is still it's golden for boxing. I think it's still golden for Matchroom, and I think it's still golden for PBC because they know they have the 168 taken care of. They know they have Charlo. They know they have Benavides. They know they have those fights. Morale, he even signed Andrade. It's like everything is still perfect. That's why when they took this chance, right, to fight Bivol, which wasn't the matchup. And that was the hardest possible matchup against the least known guy. But really, what really hurts Canelo in this, right? Even if he loses again in the rematch, it's not like he lost. If he lost, it's funny. In Artman tweeted this. I gotta give him credit for this. He said, "What's a worse loss for him? What's a worse loss for Canelo? Right? If it was against Charlo or is it against Bivol? The worst loss is against Charlo because 168 is where." Let's see what BB said. BB said, "I think Canelo will fight Golovkin. That fight was not even close, and Reynoso knows it." See, that's to me, logically thinking, BB, I agree with you. I think that if I'm thinking what's best for Canelo's career going forward, I think it's avoiding this fight. But then if I think like business wise, the fight wasn't close, and I don't think the rematch should be very much different. I really don't, because I don't think his power is ever going to make really a difference in that fight. I don't think he's going to have the power, and I think Canelo's kind of more dependent on power than maybe I originally thought. He seems like he's very dependent on power. He's got to mean something. His punch has got to mean something. If they're not going to mean anything in this fight, he doesn't have a chance. And I think Bivol's going to be more confident in the rematch. But really, what does it hurt him, though, right? If it's just a massive payday in a big fight and he loses to Bivol again, as long as he don't get stopped, as long as he don't get, stopped in the fight, he can just go back 168. Go with the PBC and fight Benavides and Charlo. And you know what? Those fights are now going to be thought of as closer, right? They're going to be thought of as maybe Canelo is overrated. Maybe we thought too much of him, and maybe Charlo is just as good as him, or maybe Benavides is better than him. Maybe Charlo is better than him, and now he's going to fight actually credible opponents. Now those are massive fights. To me, business-wise, the rematch is all fine. It doesn't affect him at all. It doesn't affect him at all. And I think he kind of put himself in the corner when he said he wanted the rematch. So it's kind of, could be looked at negatively if he doesn't take this rematch. But yeah, business-wise, I think everything's fine. And I think that it's actually great for everyone. It really is. I think it's actually great for everyone. It's going to be a lot of Canelo hate going forward. That's what happens when you're a big name, though. You're going to get a lot of Canelo hate. You're going to get a lot of hate when you're the big guy. You're the big name. When people say you're the best in the world. People say you're the pound-for-pound number one. When you lose, now people are going to say, well, look, he's overrated. You guys overrated him. You guys put him in this spot. You put him on a pedestal, and he was never that. And he got exposed, right? That's what's going to happen. I think he's a very good fighter. I think it does knock him down a few pegs from what I thought Canelo was, a little bit. I still think he's a very great fighter. I just think that maybe I thought maybe he was going to be able to go up a few weight classes and still be effective because of his skill. I think maybe overrated his skill a little bit. I think he needs a lot of his power to be effective in 168 pounds. Like, even when I thought about the Billy Joe Saunders fight, Billy Joe Saunders did have some success in that fight. He really did. He had some success. And while Canelo broke him down, but it did take the power to break him down. It did take those shots meaning something to break him down. It wasn't like he just 100% outskilled Billy Joe, or to me, even like Caleb Plant, if we were talking about it. I think the Triple G trilogy will do the best business. Canelo coming off a loss, Triple G just unified at 140, and more importantly, they know and care who Golovkin is. Bivol is just a guy that beat Canelo. Okay, yes, and he could do the Triple G fight next. He could still do the Triple G fight next, and then fight Bivol after. But I do think the Bivol fight is a massive fight now. I don't think that, even though I don't think Bivol's going to be a superstar going forward, as far as like he could fight anyone to be a superstar or sell things, but even when De La Hoya, Shane Mosley beat De La Hoya, he wasn't a superstar after. He wasn't. He fought on HBO. He didn't fight HBO pay-per-view. But when he fought De La Hoya again, it was on pay-per-view and it was a massive fight. Bivol and Canelo is a massive fight. We have, it's all built. It's all there. The whole thing's there. And he'll be a favorite. I still think that's a huge fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do Golovkin next and let Canelo get a win there it's 168. He's more comfortable there, and let him build his way back up to Bivol in a trilogy. I could see that too. I just see there's a lot of options, and I still think there's a lot of good options for him and a lot of money to be made. But yeah, I don't know. We're gonna see going forward. I think that him saying though he wanted the rematch right away, and of course that's what he's gonna say. What else was he gonna say? I do think that people will hold it against him if he doesn't take this rematch. But I think career wise, if I'm saying like, what do we do to protect him, and if we're gonna be honest with ourselves, it was actual is winnable. I don't think this fight's ever winnable for Canelo. I don't. I could be wrong. I was wrong about this fight. I thought Canelo was gonna be able to take it. I thought that Canelo was gonna be able to take this fight. I thought that going late, he was just going to be able to counter Bivol and kind of read Bivol's what he was able to do. And Bivol, it's a little bit predictable. I thought Canelo was going to be able to do that. He wasn't, right? And I could be wrong in the going into the rematch of the fight, but to me, I just think that Bivol's going to be way more confident to go into that fight. I think he sees what Canelo has. I think he sees the power. And defensively, like Bivol was very good tonight too. He was very, very tight defensively. Like I didn't think that Canelo really ever really truly like was able to build on anything in this fight. He wasn't able to build anything. And really, when the rounds I thought he won was just because he just was working, and Bivol was just kind of letting him work on his arms, and Bivol was a little too patient in those rounds, I thought. But look at the game plan worked. Even though Bivol barely won on that scorecard, and he better remember that was a close scorecard. So he's got to get to work in this. But hey, thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm running like an hour, 10 minutes here. But thank you guys for listening. I'll have another podcast out tomorrow, a little more in depth on it. But just wanted to give a quick reaction after the fight. Canelo loses, Bivol wins, and boxing Twitter is about to go crazy for like the next 2 weeks, and it's gonna be a lot of Canelo slander. And I'll be there to defend him a little bit, but then some of them are just gonna have to, just gotta sit back and take, because there's probably gonna be some fair criticism here. There's probably gonna be some fair criticism. Thank you guys for listening. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Peace.